Greetings, Jellyspoons, and welcome back to another episode of Monday Madness, the Monday show where I talk about pretty much anything I want. Alright. So this week is a piratical theme. I decided this about an hour ago, to be honest, because I was just thinking about what I was going to talk about, and I've done Peter Pan to death recently, so I thought I'd give you all a break, and I'm not going to be dissecting the story of Peter Pan, I'm not going to be correcting bad opinions, I'm not going to be sharing dark facts or anything, I'm not going to be talking about Peter Pan whatsoever, except for the few times I spoke about him just now. Instead, the theme of today is going to be a piratical nature, and I've decided this because, well, I've been watching Our Flag Means Death for about the 10th time on the trot. I don't have a problem, you have a problem. So anyway, I, like a lot of the rest of the world, seem to be pretty obsessed with the gay pirate show. It's the most fantastic thing in the entire world. I love it to pieces. And so to honour just how gosh darn amazing that show is and how generally piratical I seem to be most of the time, I've decided today I'm going to talk about things of a piratical nature. Now, a lot of you guys seem to really enjoy my storytime videos, so that is sort of what we're doing today. Today I'm going to be talking about two of my D&D player characters. These are two characters I have been lucky enough to play over the last few years, and both of them are, of course, pirates. They were both pirates, but in a very, very different way, and their stories went in completely different directions. So, I'm going to share with you some of the highlights of the plot points and things I got to do and some RP moments while I was playing both of these characters. One of these characters you may have heard of before if you've watched my Storytime series here on YouTube. I talked about him in the series about the Pirate Paladin. His name is Moxi Brethren, and he is the D&D character I have played for the longest, I think, of all the campaigns I've ever played in. I think that one was the longest. So, he already has his own series on my channel, but I'm going to talk a little bit more about him today. I'm also going to talk about another player character of mine called Kuri Musta. Kuri is fucking hilarious. You thought Moxi was bad, my god, I took all the best bits of Moxi and smushed them together and Kuri came out. So I'm going to talk about those two characters and their piratical adventures and what they got up to. And I might talk about an interestingly odd piratical idea that I also had. Alright, on with the show! So I created Moxi Brethren. He was a tiefling. He was 27 years old. He was sort of bluish skinned. He had dark blue hair. His eyes were the color of the ocean. He was very blue, basically. He was a pirate. He was born at sea. He looked like he was born at sea. He was blue everything. I really liked him. He was really cool. He was made as, a pretty typical pirate. He'd been brought up on the ocean with his father. He'd never really set foot on land for more than a few days at a time, and most of that time had been spent being thrown in prison for various things. Originally, Moxi was just gonna be a typical pirate. He was gonna be a swashbuckler pirate, that kind of thing. But when I was asked to join the group, I asked what they needed, and they said they really needed a paladin, so I changed him into a paladin. Now, as I said in the playlist of Moxi's story, I will admit that when I created Moxi, I was fully under the impression that paladins were boring as fuck. I believed that you had to be lawful good, that you had to be like a white knight and you needed a shield and all this crap that I was really just not interested in playing. No offense if that's your thing, but, you know, it's not my thing to play. It's not something that I do at LARP, it's not something I do in D&D. I'm not a paladin, and that is fine. But the party needed a paladin, I was interested in playing, and I was ready to broaden my horizons, as it were. So I made Moxi as a pirate paladin. And he had the background of being a pirate, but he was a level 1 paladin just setting out on his adventure to learn what the fuck this paladin thing is all about. And when I was picking him a deity, I picked him a deity, I think she was of like bonds and ties and love and like lust maybe? I think it was like lusty romance, something like that. And he had close ties to his dad, and I'd already decided that pretty much every night he would be going to taverns and brothels and being a bit of a cad, essentially. So yeah, I thought that deity fitted him pretty well. He didn't keep her for very long, but that's a whole nother story. So yeah, that was Moxi, 27, blue, tiefling, pirate paladin. And I set into the adventure thinking that, yeah, he can protect people, this will be kind of cool, he can have some adventures on land, we'll see where this goes, essentially. I didn't really write more backstory for him than that. He was sailing with his dad, and they were really close. He didn't have a mom. I didn't even think about that one, I did a Disney. I did a complete Disney and just wrote out the mom without even thinking about it. And the DM asked if he could do something with that, and I said, sure. So all I gave him was a dad, a pirate ship, and a deity. That was pretty much it, really. I did roll a few things in the backstory tables and some of the manuals and stuff because the DM requested it. Like, he had a trinket from something, I think, and he had an ex-lover and various things like that. But I didn't really think too much into it when I first created Moxi. He was just this, essentially, just an idiot who was gonna romp around being, a bit of a fucker. So, yeah, I thought it was gonna be great fun. It was fun, but it turned quite dark quite quickly. If you want to know more about Moxi's story, then go watch my series. And also, I am very slowly, as a sort of side project, I am writing out Moxi's story with a few embellishments here and there. I am writing it very, very slowly when I have some free time or when I'm just not quite in the right mindset to make cosplay videos. So if you want to go on my AO3 page, Archive of Our Own, I have posted 2 chapters of Moxi's new story. So that is up there if you want to get on board with that. And at some point, I may read it aloud for you on this channel. So in the first session of being introduced to the party, Moxi was broken out of jail by the party. They needed passage on his dad's ship, so he sent them off to break his notoriously ridiculous son out of jail. They sprung him from jail, and chaos ensued, and then they got onto his dad's ship, and Moxi saw his dad again, got some high fives from the crew for being such a fucking idiot. They read his rap sheet. There was a lot on this rap sheet that I can't quite remember. There was adultery because he had been caught with many people's wives and husbands. There was impersonating a noble. There was theft, petty theft, theft of a fishmonger's cart, and then smacking said fishmonger in the face with a haddock, I believe. There was more theft. There was breaking and entering, although Moxi was like, well, actually, technically that was breaking and exiting, but whatevs. There was damage. There was destruction of public property, destruction of crown property, I think, something like that, and various other ridiculous things. Indecent exposure was a large one, and it went on and on and on and on, and there was a lot. So that was fun. And then very soon after that, they were sailing on the ship and got attacked by a kraken and sank, and Moxi watched his dad die. Session 1. And that was the start of Moxi's story getting darker and darker and darker. In a nutshell, Moxi Brethren, bless him, he ended up getting tricked by his mom. It turned out that his mom was a demon from the 9 hells somewhere, I think. And she hoodwinked him, essentially, into becoming an oathbreaker to his original deity and switching to Asmodeus. And anyone who knows D&D will know that Asmodeus is not a good idea. And I knew out of character, Moxi had not a clue. So she tricked him into serving Asmodeus. But at one point, the mom asked him to do something that Moxi could not do. No spoilers. She asked him to do something. He just couldn't do it. This was supposed to be the big thing. It was supposed to prove his loyalty to her and to Asmodeus, and he was supposed to become, eventually the mom wanted him to become a Solar, I think, like essentially like the right hand of Asmodeus, and he couldn't do it. He couldn't do it, and he got dragged down into his mom's lair, where her and a bunch of other demons essentially just destroyed him. She had snapped his horns off, she'd cut his tail off, and she had cursed him. She cursed him out as an oathbreaker. So he was an oathbreaker again, and he was like covered in all these like demonic brands, like it was all burned into his skin everywhere, and they were all in like abyssal or... I think it was in Abyssal. Whatever the demon tongue is, I can't remember right now, but it was all in demon tongue essentially, and it said things like scum-sucking betrayer, do not trust this person, essentially, like a big warning to anyone who could read it, like he will betray you kind of thing. And it was like, oh shit. And it was a curse that no one could remove. It couldn't be removed. And the party was shocked, and it was very entertaining for me. And then something that I did not know had happened was when one of the people in our moment of RP, they said, oh, so Moxi something. They asked him a question, but they said his name. They said Moxi. And the DM jumped in and said, you tried to say Moxi, but what comes out is scum. And I laughed, and everyone else went, huh? And I went, oh, this is getting good. And people kept trying. In RP, the characters were saying, Moxi, nope, and what was coming out was betrayer, filthy, traitor, treacherous, oathbreaker, scum, betrayer of family, shit like that. They couldn't say his name anymore, and it turned out that Asmodeus himself had cursed Moxi's name. So his name was cursed. So he had to go through a whole thing where he was like, fuck, I need a new name. And he ends up calling himself Benji, and it was really cute, because Benji was the name that I liked. Over the years of travelling with the party as an oathbreaker, he discovered that if he died as an oathbreaker for the second time over, it was either that his soul was going to go to no afterlife and be judged badly, or that Asmodeus was going to get his soul and could torment him. I can't remember which one it was because I changed it when I was writing the story. So, spoiler alert, in my new version of the story, it's edited a little bit. So in D&D lore, I can't remember what it was, but something was going to happen. Something bad was going to happen to his soul when he died. And so he needed a new deity. And so Moxi Brethren then had to go hunting for a new deity. And essentially all the deities told him to fuck off. And then ended up having to go with Pelor, who was this deity of essentially everything paladin-y. Everything that I had thought paladins were at the beginning of this, which I learned was wrong. I was wrong about paladins. They're not like this at all. Or not all paladins are like this. But yeah, so Pelor, the way that this DM was playing it, was a deity of like righteousness and good and, you know, straight and narrow kind of thing. But that was Mox's only choice. So he had to essentially agree to serve under this deity. And one of the things this deity did was, oh yeah, because in one of the party's many adventurers, Moxi got his eye burnt out by an acid trap, and it got burned out and it couldn't be repaired. But that was fine. It was like the least of his worries at that point. You know, I think he just lost his dad, so he was like, yeah, whatever, this doesn't matter. So he threw on an eye patch and was like, I'm even more piratey now, because he already had a metal peg leg, and he was like, look at me, I'm more of a pirate, it's fine. So when he appealed to Pelor, and Pelor said, all right, I'll give you a chance, I'll take a chance on you, but you are an Oathbreaker Paladin twice over, I'm gonna need some insurance that you're not going to just become an Oathbreaker to me on a whim. And Moxi agreed, and Pelor said, right, I'm going to need your sight. I'm going to need your second eye. And Moxi said, well, how the fuck am I meant to serve you without my eyes? And Pelor said, you've just got to trust me. And Moxi was like, well, I haven't got any other choice, and my soul's quite literally hanging in the balance, so sure, go for it, buddy. And so Pelor, this deity, burned out Moxi's second eye, and he was blind for a good, 5 minutes, and he was like, well, this sucks. And then Pelor gave him a magical blindfold. It's an actual item in D&D, I can't remember what it's called, but it's a blindfold where, I think it's a blindfold of true sight, where you put it on, and he had Pelor's blessing so he could see. So he now had more paladin powers, and that didn't go very well, because this DM was playing Pelor harsh, to the book, which was quite fun. Frustrating at times, but it was quite fun, because Moxi was just how Moxi was normally, how he was behaving, or Benji, it was Benji at the time, but how he was behaving normally was not how this deity wanted his followers to behave. So there was a whole big thing in that campaign where him and his own deity were just back and forth, not getting along very well, because at one point they met someone who was smoking drugs, and he was like, yeah, I'll try some. And his magic got taken away from him for a day, I think. I think he had 24 hours without any of his magical abilities, because Pelor was like, you know what you did. And Moxi's like, oh, no fucking idea. And the party was like, it's because you did the drugs. Pelor doesn't like that. And Moxi's like, what? This guy's no fun. And then at one point, something real bad happened that was Moxi's fault. The big bad evil guy came to torment them, and everyone was supposed to just bow their head and just wait for him to fuck off. And instead, Moxi just kept staring at him. He might have said fuck off. Knowing me, he probably said fuck off. But he didn't bow to this big bad evil guy. He had enough. He was pissed off. And the big bad evil guy essentially went, oh, you think you're a big man, do you? And then dropped a nuke, essentially, that wiped out 100 people, 100 innocent people. And Moxi was like, oh shit, that was my fault. Most of them were healed up and it was fine. Most of them were revived, so it was okay, but he was still like, oh, fuck, I did bad. So he toddled off that night when everyone was splitting up to go to their various places to go rest. Moxi just wandered around and had a look for a particularly dark and whippy kind of brothel. And he paid to have a couple of hours of feeling like he was being punished for what he did. I believe the brothel was technically being run by people who were in service of a different deity, so it was a double bad. So Pelor took away his magic. Again. And things like that continued. And it was quite fun, out of character, and occasionally frustrating. But overall, it was quite an interesting just dynamic of Moxi being like, I have to, stay with this deity. There is nothing I can do. I have to stick this out kind of thing. And the deity probably getting more and more frustrated with him. And there was a very casual, very gay backstory thrown in there as well. But if you want to know more about that, then go look up the story of Moxi and read it on my archive of our own if you want to as well. So yeah, Moxi Brethren, in the end, ended up blind, cursed, an oathbreaker 3 times. So yeah. That was Moxi Brethren, my first attempt at piracy. Now I will talk to you about Kuri Musta, my second pirate Dungeons & Dragons character. I was trying to write notes about what I wanted to talk about for Kuri and part of his story, and I actually found my original player sheet that I made for Kuri. Oh, Kuri level 2, baby. Kuri Musta, rogue swashbuckler, pirate background, drow race, and of course alignment chaotic neutral. There he is. I don't know if you can see that in the light, but there he is, my attempt at Kuri. So you will see a lot of crossover when I start talking about these characters, because there is quite a few similarities between them. But of course, Moxi Brethren was a 27-year-old blue tiefling, and Kuri Musta was a 17-year-old. Yeah, he was 17 when we started playing. 17-year-old drow pirate. Flaws. If someone questions my courage, I never back down. Yep, that sounds about... Yep, that sounds like Kuri. His description. Oh, I remember this. He had long, silvery white hair, constantly matted and tangled in a rough braid, which always smells of sea salt water, bright blue eyes. I don't know what it is with giving my character. They either have blue or green eyes. I don't know why. Clothing, all deep blues and black. Tall boots, short cloak. He's got a shark tooth in one ear, lots of piercings, bandana. Did I just fucking make me? Anyway, he grew up on his father's pirate ship. Mother was on land, left him with his father, and has never met her. Can you see the similarities forming already? But he is happy, never had need of her. He has lots of half-siblings. Kuri is the youngest, and he is his father's favourite. He is the favourite son. His father has lots of other random half-siblings with various different people all across the world, but Kuri is the only one who is living with his father, and he is the favourite. Aww. He was trained to be a cutthroat, and from the age of 15, 16, he ship-hopped with various different crews for the experience, so he didn't stay with his dad. Moxi stayed with his dad, Kuri did not. Kuri killed his first man aged 11. I remember this because I wrote this in because we were playing a game of Truth or Dare, I think, in character. They were having an RP game of Truth or Dare, and one of them was the truth, and Kuri, it came out, so I wrote it in quickly. I was like, oh yeah, this happened. So I wrote it into his backstory. He killed his first man aged 11. His father, the captain, said that you should earn your weapons and your place on the crew, and Kuri's like, yeah, sure. So he let Kuri finish off the captain that they had overthrown on another ship, and it was the best day of Kuri's life. Also, I stole the same names, and I'm not sorry. So Moxi Brethren's pirate name was the Black Dog, which is totally not a reference to Sirius Black. Anyway, and Moxi's father, he was called the Black Wolf. So it was like a family thing, the wolf and his son, the dog, which I thought was sweet. It was a father-son thing, and I liked it so much that I stole it for Kuri as well. So Kuri's pirate name is also the Black Dog, and Kuri's father is called the Black Wolf. I do appreciate in hindsight that there are connotations because Kuri was played obviously as a drow, and that was unintentional. So Kuri being the Black Dog, it didn't actually have anything to do with aesthetics. It was just a dumb pirate name. So please don't come at me for that one. I appreciate in hindsight that it may not have been in the best taste and he could have been the Red Dog or something like that, but that was not the intent behind that. It was literally, I like this name, I'm gonna steal it. So apologies if that's how you took that one. A big part of Kuri's character towards the beginning was that he really, really did miss his father, and he was learning how to handle himself and how to just live without being right next to his father, and his father really wanted that for him. He wanted him to go out into the world and be his own person, but Kuri really missed just being with his father, so that was quite sweet to overcome. And they did meet his father as well, and this was one of my favourite moments because it was just so cute, and I don't think anyone was expecting it, because the party had met Kuri as this, like, charismatic, flirt with all the ladies, pirates are fucking awesome, look at me, I'm the Black Dog, I'm so cool. And then his dad shows up and Kuri's like, oh my god, it's my dad! And they climb on board his dad's ship and Kuri just sprints at his dad and like jump hugs him and is like spun round and round by his dad, and he's just like, Dad! And he basically turns into a toddler. He turns into like a 4-year-old who's just like, oh my god, it's my dad, yay! And the party are like looking at him like, wow, did not expect that. And it was really cute. And they were just like, this is so sweet. Oh my god, look at him. And so, yeah, that was a cute moment for me. I was like, look, there's more to him than just being a prick. Another favourite moment of mine happened within the next few weeks of playing, I think, where they were on land and they'd ventured much further inland and they were going through farmland and farmyards. And something that I had decided a while ago as a little fun fact about Kuri that I was never really sure was going to come up in conversation. I just thought, oh, I'll write it down and I'll have it, you know, just as a thing. And the thing was, Kuri did not believe that cows were a real thing. He knew about milk, he had milk before, but he thought milk came from the bottle, or like a milk river, or like the ground. He had no idea what cows were. And so they go on a tiny little side mission and the party take him to meet a cow. And he's both terrified and thinks they're really cool. Something else that I decided to lean into with Kuri was that he had never learned to read or to write. He could write his name, he could write his father's name, he could read a treasure map, but he had never really learned how to sit down, write and read and spell. And then at some point the party met Kuri's mom, who it turned out had not ditched him as a kid. It turned out she was being hunted down by her mother, Kuri's grandmother, a whole different story. And she had gone to hide in the Feywild because she was a descendant of Fey creatures. And they ended up stumbling into the Feywild and they met Moxi's mom, who was absolutely appalled that his father had not taught him to read and to write. And after they ended up disposing of the grandma, the mom said, well, now I don't have to be in hiding to protect you and myself and everything anymore. I'm going to go and look for your father. Oh, cool, you guys are going to get back together. And she was like, I'm going to give him a piece of my mind about how he raised you. In the end, they did get back together. But they had off-screen arguments that Kuri heard about later. Looking through all my campaign notes to see like what else I can say about Kuri. All capital letters, closeted. Yeah, that's fair. So there was a wonderful person in the D&D party of adventurers, as a player and as a character. They were all wonderful. But there was one particular who, after a few weeks of playing, said to me out of game, so I think that my character has a crush on Kuri. And I was like, oh my god, why? He's an obnoxious idiot. And they're like, yeah, I don't know why it just happened. I was like, yeah, cool, not gonna lean into like full-on relationships, but yeah, sure, see what happens with that. It came out, and I didn't quite realize this when I first was writing him, but it did sort of come out through how he felt towards his dad and pirates and things like that. He had a lot of like internalized, almost misogyny. I don't know. He was very closeted, essentially. He was, I think, bisexual, but leaning more towards gay, and he had a huge problem with coming to terms with that because he didn't want to be seen as weak. He was the black dog, he was a pirate, he was all this badass stuff, and romance in general he thought would make him seem weak, but also particularly the more effeminate gay side of romance, and he ended up being really worried about that. And it wasn't a huge part of the story, but a little character moment that happened for him over and over again was realizing how he did care about this guy, and the world didn't have any real reaction to it. It was Kuri's problem. It was his resistance to being honest about himself and being open about his feelings that really stood in his own way, and that was quite fun to RP with, because these characters and the rest of the party, it was fun to see how their characters developed and how they bounced off each other, and this became quite a big thing for him. It was a problem. He had to overcome this because it was, making him and this other person unhappy, and he got a bit jealous sometimes when this other character was like, well, I'm gonna go off and do this. And Kuri was like, whatever, but secretly like, And at one point he spoke to his dad when he saw him again later on in the campaign, and he talked about love. And at this point he'd met his mom and he talked more about it with his dad, and his dad was like, it doesn't matter, it's how you feel. It doesn't make you any weaker. It doesn't make you less of a pirate, blah, 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 blah. And eventually Kuri got over it, and he stopped essentially dragging this other character off to make out in very dark alleyways where no one could see them. And eventually he built up to like they would hold hands, like they would hold hands like that. They would hold little fingers and stuff. And Kuri was very slowly working up to being okay with the rest of the world seeing it, but it really wasn't the rest of the world that had the problem. It was him. So by the end of the campaign it was fine, and he had gotten over it. That was a interesting side of his character that I did not realize was there when I first wrote him, but it came out more through RP and stuff. So yeah, Kuri's story was really interesting and very, very different to Moxi Brethren. If you enjoyed the tales of Moxi and Kuri, then please let me know down in the comments. I'll be very happy to do more story times on both of them. As I've said, Moxi already has his own playlist, and I am rewriting his story better, and that's going up on AO3 really, really slowly when I've got time. Kuri as well, if you want a story series all about him, let me know. I can do that for you as well. And I'm going to finish this video with an idea that I have had, which is also of a piratical nature. So I was at work the other day, and it was a very quiet day. So the lot of us, the kids entertainers at the park where I work, we were all there and we were having a chat about things. And we got onto the subject of musicals because we're all very theatrical. We were theatre kids. And we suddenly had this idea. And as a collective, we decided, wouldn't it be cool if Pirates of the Caribbean was made into a stage musical? And I have not been able to get it out of my brain since. And I really want it. So, if you would like me to do an entire video where I discuss my ideas for how one could do a Pirates of the Caribbean musical, how it should start, how you could introduce the characters, that kind of thing, then chuck it down in the comments below and I will attempt to do that for you guys, because I have thoughts. So, I shall leave you on that piratical note. Pirates of the Caribbean musical. They did it with Pirates of Penzance, why the heck not? So, to sum up this Monday madness of piratical natureness, number 1, Our Flag Means Death is amazing and you should totally watch it. Number 2, Moxi Brethren was never a good paladin. Number 3, Kuri Musta, absolute idiot but sweet underneath. 4, Pirates of the Caribbean should so be a musical. Also, I have merch for sale over on my Ko-fi store. I have different badges. I have 6 different designs right now. I'll pop a picture of them up over here too. And I also currently still have a few acorn trinkets left. We're calling them Kisses from Morku. Why not? I made a few of these for my Never Never movie project, and these are some of the last ones left. So if you'd like one of these for your very own, hop on over to my Ko-fi page over there as well. Also, if you would like to support me in any way you can do, you can chuck support over on my Ko-fi page. You can buy me a sandwich over there. You can also commission me. I do commissions which are personalised in-character messages. Currently available from Mollymauk Tea Leaf, Lucien the Nonigon, Kingsley Tea Leaf the Pirate, Peter Pan direct from the Neverland, and of course Puck from A Midsummer Night's Dream. So if you would like a personalised message for yourself or for somebody else, then hit up my Ko-fi commissions page and we'll see what we can do for you. If you would like to support me monthly and be committed to me on a monthly basis, you can also join my Patreon page. On my Patreon page, you get behind the scenes looks at what I'm doing. You get to vote on various things that I'm up to. Like at one point they voted for what colour the Neverbird's eyes were. You get to chuck in ideas for what my Monday Madness videos will be about and vote on various things. You get photos of what I'm up to and my thoughts on things. And you get pictures of the dog, which seems to be the main reason most people are there. So if you'd like to support me in any way like that, chuck me support on any of those various platforms. In the meantime, I hope you have the most fantastic piratical day. Goodbye, my wonderful jelly spoons. Goodbye. Okay, so I was halfway through editing this video and I just remembered something that I didn't mention that everyone needs to know about Kuri. So, Kuri was not trusted to have a familiar or a pet, anything like that. Not that he could have had a familiar, but he was not trusted to have his own animal, but he really desperately wanted one. And at one point they were going through a market and they saw a guy who had guinea pigs, and Kuri was obsessed and he was picking them up and it was just like this ball of fluff, and he called them pinnygigs because he can't spell and write. And so it was a pinnygig and he wanted it so badly, but they were like, look, we're going to dangerous places and you can't be trusted. You won't take care of it. It's gonna die and then you're gonna be sad. And he was like, so sad. So then one of them went and got like commissioned and had him made a toy guinea pig. So Kuri Musta, the pirate swashbuckling schmoozer of ladies and eventually men, had a pinny gig which he carried with him all the time and would get out every time they got to a tavern. He would take out the pinny gig and put it on the table next to his plate and he would pet the pinny gig. So that's something else about Kuri that you guys need to know.